When I told her she was being too close with her male best friend, she said, "You're insecure. He's been in my life longer than you." Then added, "If you make me choose, I choose." I just packed my stuff and left. 2 weeks later, she was at my door sobbing. 29 male, never thought I'd be writing one of these posts. Always been more of a lurker. But here we are. Met Sarah 3 years ago at a friend's wedding. She was the maid of honor. I was a groomsman. Classic story, right? We hit it off immediately. She was smart, funny, gorgeous, and fiercely loyal, a trait I admired at the time. We moved in together after 18 months. I genuinely thought she was the one. Enter Marcus, her best friend since college. Look, I'm not one of those guys who thinks men and women can't be friends. I have female friends. But something about Marcus always felt off. He'd show up at our apartment unannounced. Text her constantly. Inside jokes that made me feel like a third wheel in my own relationship. I brushed it off as me being overly sensitive. The breaking point came 2 months ago. I got home early from a canceled meeting and found him on her couch. Not doing anything sexual, just her head on his shoulder, his arm around her, watching some show they'd apparently been binging together while I was at work. The way they jumped apart when I walked in told me everything. "We were just watching TV," Sarah said, like I was being ridiculous. That night, I tried talking to her. Calmly, rationally. I explained how their dynamic made me uncomfortable. How the constant texting, the lunch dates, the way he'd touch her arm when they laughed, it all felt like emotional cheating. Her response? "You're being insecure. Marcus has been in my life longer than you. We've been through everything together. If you're asking me to choose between my best friend and my jealous boyfriend, then I choose." She didn't even finish the sentence. Just looked at me with this cold expression I'd never seen before. I said, "No need to finish. I get it. Packed my essentials that night." She didn't try to stop me. Actually seemed relieved. 2 weeks later, she's at my door at 11 p.m., mascara running down her face, sobbing so hard she can barely speak. Turns out, the moment I left, Marcus made his move. And when she reciprocated, he told her he wasn't ready for a relationship and that he valued their friendship too much to risk it. The kicker? He'd been dating someone else for 6 months. Never mentioned her once. Sarah wanted me back. Said she'd been blind, that I was right, that she'd cut him off completely. I let her talk for 20 minutes on my doorstep before I finally said, "I'm not your second choice. I'm nobody's backup plan." Close the door. Haven't spoken since. But that's not where this story ends. Update 1. Been getting a lot of DMs asking for updates. Buckle up because this gets messy. After I turned Sarah away that night, I thought that was it. Clean break. Move on with my life. I was wrong. First came the texts. Dozens of them. Apologizing, begging, promising she'd change. I didn't respond. Then the calls. Then showing up at my work. My coworker Jake had to walk her out when she wouldn't leave the lobby. I was as close to getting a restraining order when suddenly, nothing. Radio silence. Figure she'd finally gotten the message. Nope. About a month after the doorstep incident, I get an angry call from our old landlord. Remember, we'd been living together in her apartment. I'd moved out and was crashing with my brother while apartment hunting, but my name was still on the original lease. The landlord tells me rent is a month late, and that if it's not paid in full, he's starting eviction proceedings and sending collections after both of us. What are you talking about? I moved out over a month ago. Sarah should be paying. That's when I learned what she'd done. When I'd emailed the landlord about getting my name taken off the lease, Sarah had called him. She told him we were working through some personal issues and that I was just cooling off my brothers. She claimed removing my name would be detrimental during a sensitive time and hinted at issues that made him legally hesitant to change the lease without my direct, in-person consent. She was using my absence to legally bind me to her. But he was done being patient. During a recent inspection for a water leak, he'd seen the state of the apartment. It was being neglected. Scuff marks on the walls, food stains on the carpets, a general state of disarray that went way beyond normal wear and tear. It wasn't a calculated plot to stick me with a bill. It was the fallout of her unraveling, and I was still legally on the hook for it. Her plan, I realized, was to create a 5-alarm fire, eviction, collections, damaged credit, so massive that I would have to interact with her to solve it. She was engineering a crisis to force me back into her orbit. I had to take a half-day off work, meet with the landlord, and provide signed affidavits, utility bills in my name at my new address, and a copy of my brother's lease with me as a listed occupant. He was furious at her. He agreed to release me from liability, but I'd have to testify if she fought the eviction. I thought I was finally untangled from a mess. Then Marcus showed up at my brother's place. Update 2. Marcus looked rough. Unshaven, red eyes, clothes wrinkled. My brother answered the door, took one look at him, and called me over. "We need to talk," Marcus said. My first instinct was to slam the door in his face, but something in his expression stopped me. This wasn't the cocky, touchy-feely guy from my apartment. This was someone who looked cornered. We went to a coffee shop. Public place, neutral ground. "Sarah's trying to ruin my life," he started, his voice strained. Here's what I learned. The story Sarah told me on my doorstep was a lie. She had made a move on Marcus the night I left. But his rejection wasn't as simple as he'd valued their friendship. His girlfriend, Amy, found out about the attempt. Amy didn't just break up with Marcus. She went nuclear. She got a hold of texts between Marcus and Sarah. Real texts, but ones that Sarah was now reframing. Months of "I miss you" and "can't wait to see you," messages that seemed innocent at the time, now looked like evidence of an emotional affair. Amy sent screenshots to their entire circle of friends. But here's the twist he came to tell me. Most of Sarah's claims were fabrications built around kernels of truth. She cropped group photos to make them look like dates. She was telling everyone that Marcus had been pursuing her for years and had sabotaged her relationship with me, finally making his move only to discard her. "Why?" I asked. "Why would she do that to you? I thought you were best friends." Marcus let out this bitter, hollow laugh. "Because I didn't give her what she wanted. That night you left, she tried to kiss me. I stopped her and told her she was making a huge mistake, that she loved you and was throwing away something real. She completely lost it." He showed me texts from her after that night. They were unhinged, accusations that he'd led her on for years, that he'd ruined her relationship with me on purpose, that he owed her a chance. When he kept rejecting her, she turned on him. "I'm not asking for your sympathy," Marcus said, looking me in the eye. "I know I crossed boundaries. I was a shitty friend to you. I enjoyed the attention, the emotional intimacy. I messed up, but I need your help." She's telling everyone I'm a predator who manipulated her. "Amy thinks I'm a monster. I need someone, anyone, to corroborate my timeline. That she came on to me after you left. He wasn't there for my forgiveness. He was there to save himself. And he was warning me. She's been talking to our mutual friends," he said, spinning some story about how you were controlling and emotionally abusive, that you isolated her. "She's building a narrative, man, and she's good at it." I'd already started getting weird looks. Friends who were suddenly busy. It was all starting to make sense. Sarah was trying to destroy my reputation to justify the breakup, just like she was destroying his for rejecting her. But in her rage, she'd made one crucial mistake. Update 3. I need to be clear about something. I never set out for revenge. I just wanted to be left alone. But when someone's actively trying to burn your life down, you have to become a firefighter. Sarah's mistake was Lisa, her friend from college, the one who was a bridesmaid with her at the wedding where we met. Lisa reached out to me, horrified. She didn't have a treasure trove of evidence. No voice recordings or binders full of screenshots. It was simpler than that. She was Sarah's confidant for years, and her conscience had finally won. According to Lisa, Sarah's obsession with Marcus was a decade old. She'd been in love with him since sophomore year. She dated other guys, including me, but Marcus was always the endgame in her mind. She genuinely believed they were soulmates, and that any other partner, mine or his, was just a temporary obstacle. Lisa had watched her subtly sabotage other relationships, but had never seen anything on this scale. The lies about me being abusive were the last straw for her. Lisa gave me what I needed: context and confirmation. She forwarded me a single, old email from 3 years ago where Sarah detailed her plan to get closer to a then-single Marcus, and how frustrated she was that he saw her as just a friend. It was a pattern. The final piece came from Marcus. In his effort to clear his own name, he found out from a mutual friend that Sarah had been venting on a private blog and a semi-anonymous Reddit account. He didn't know the username, but he knew the subreddits. It took me one evening of searching for key phrases from our breakup to find it. She'd been sloppy, using details that were too specific. She was posting her version of events, getting validation from internet strangers about her controlling ex and her toxic best friend who led her on. I didn't engage publicly. That was her game. Instead, I built my case. I organized a timeline. My breakup with her showing up at my door, the call from the landlord, Marcus's story, the texts he showed me, the old email from Lisa. I sent a single, comprehensive email to a small group of our closest mutual friends, the ones who had been distant, the ones who deserve the truth. I didn't attack her. I just laid out the facts, attached the proof, and let them draw their own conclusions. The fallout wasn't a sudden explosion. It was a quiet, creeping collapse. One friend called me to apologize. Then another. The story unraveled. Amy eventually got the full story, and, while she didn't get back with Marcus, she did tell people he wasn't the monster Sarah painted him to be. Last I heard, after the eviction went through and her friend group dissolved, Sarah moved back in with her parents 2 states away. Her blog and Reddit account were deleted. Me? I found a nice apartment downtown. Got a promotion at work. Started dating someone new. Someone whose best friend is a golden retriever. Here's the thing that still gets me. I loved her. Really loved her. And part of me used to wonder if things could have been different if I'd handled that first conversation better. No, that's the trap. Making yourself responsible for someone else's choices. Sarah chose Marcus. Sarah chose manipulation. Sarah chose to destroy lives rather than accept rejection. I just chose to walk away. And when she tried to drag me back into the fire, I chose to find a fire extinguisher. Sometimes the best revenge isn't some elaborate scheme. Sometimes it's just telling the truth, quietly, to the people who matter, and refusing to play the game at all. Don't know if this counts as pro-revenge, since I'm mostly just defending myself. But for any of you dealing with a similar situation, document everything. Save every text. Build your case quietly. And when someone shows you who they really are, believe them the first time. Sarah showed me that night on the couch. I just wish I'd paid attention sooner.